All right, joining us now is Missouri Senator Eric Schmitt. Senator, what is your message tonight? I know you've heard dribs and drabs of what's in this bill that they have been negotiating, supposedly, for 4 months. But what's your message to your Senate colleagues tonight trying to sell this?
This thing is a mess. First of all, Joe Biden has every authority he needs right now. We shouldn't be negotiating with a guy who has no interest in securing the border. It'd be like negotiating with Bernie Madoff to secure your life savings and invest it wisely. Run away. It's not in their DNA, because here's the tale of the tape. He reversed remain in Mexico. He ended that. He paid contractors $140,000 a day to not construct the wall. He's abusing parole, and he's sued Texas, who's actually tried to secure the border. He has no interest in it, and the idea that he's going to double pinky swear and really promise next time with some new language to do it is ridiculous. It's based on a false premise. Also, secondly, we shouldn't be normalizing the idea that 5,000 people coming here illegally is okay. If you're under that, if you're over that, all of a sudden we have a problem. We have a problem right now. Third of all, this is a rushed, as you know, as you pointed out, Laura, we haven't seen the text. All we know is the stuff that's been leaked. It is offensive, not just to senators who are going to presumably vote on this, but to the American people, that you would be selling this without showing it. It's being negotiated in a dark room, in the back room.
Well, I think it's already done. Yeah, I think it's already done. He's writing it clearly.
Laura, yeah, the other thing is Schumer's going to close debate on this probably Thursday. Think about that. For this thing that's so complex that every word changes, that senators are going to have like a day to look at this thing, it's totally ridiculous. This thing is not necessary to secure the border. Under existing law, Trump closed the border. We had a secure border. Joe Biden could do it today. He just doesn't want to.
You know how we know that this was a sham from the beginning and really a political move to try to, turn the tables on Republicans or help Biden, is because they didn't involve the House Speaker in any of these talks. Like, if they were really serious, they would have brought Johnson in and said, look, this is what we're thinking about. It would allow this, this, and this. It wouldn't allow, and they would have sat down with him. They didn't do that, but I bet my bottom dollar that Schumer involved Hakeem Jeffries in some way, shape, or form in these talks. You agree with me on that?
I do agree with that, and Speaker Johnson was very clear today that this thing is DOA. So here's my hope, is that we've been told that it would take a majority of the minority, meaning you maybe need 25 Republicans to vote for this. So my hope is that people will see this turd for what it is, not vote for it because it's DOA in the House. Why in the world will we go through this when Joe Biden has existing authority? We should be beating up on him for the 9 million people that he is allowed to come here illegally. It's as simple as that. So this is a fool's errand, an exercise in futility, because we can have a secure border if you actually had a president interested in executing the law.
Yeah, they won't do town halls in their home states on this border bill, I can tell you that. A Daily Caller exclusive on this terrorist who made his way to Minnesota, who crossed our border. Federal authorities finally have seized him, but they allowed him to enter the country. He roamed freely for nearly a year. He's a Somali member of al-Shabaab. And this was an internal federal memo that the Daily Caller News Foundation got its hands on. But they let him slip through, and he went right to Minnesota, of course, where there's a very large Somali community in Minnesota. It's always been a concern of many people that, allowing al-Shabaab members to come into the country and an open border could be a real problem.
Yeah, we don't know who these people are, Laura, or where they're at. Many people are being paroled, which, by the way, is supposed to be individual adjudications, but Biden is illegally using that, by the way, one of the things he's doing wrong, for entire classes of people or certain countries, with court dates sometimes in the 2030s. I mean, this is a total abuse of our system, but this is what happens when you have a bunch of open borders, global citizens running the White House in the United States of America. So we ought to hold firm, tell Biden to enforce the law, and not, by the way, one thing to look out for here, Laura, too, is there could be language in here that hamstrings a future president, President Trump's ability to actually do the things he did before. Yeah. But again, nobody's seen it, so it's just a joke.
Yeah. Well, Senator, you've been a leader on this. Thank you so much. Great to see you tonight.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.